And then after school, he sent me a text, but I was already driving home. And he said, I can't do this anymore. I love you, Mom. That was it. And I came home and I found him.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health, a free, safe space for people to share and learn from others' experiences with mental health and addictions. I'm Todd Renabaum, suicide attempt survivor and a recovering substance abuser. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Got another incredibly emotional and somewhat inspirational, but also tragic episode this week. This week I'm speaking with Jennifer Varga. She lost her 15-year-old son. He took his own life, and about a year and a half later, her husband, who was full of grief and shame and guilt from losing his son, then took his life. She is incredibly brave and strong to be able to even tell her story, so thank you so much for this, Jen. Next week's episode, I'm speaking with Brad Keck. And he grew up with extreme abuse, and he was bounced around from home to home. He even lived in a group home for a while, and that's actually where I met him. We went to high school together for a couple of years. After high school, he dealt with anxiety and depression and addictions. And then one day, he had a tragic accident that left him disfigured, and that kind of changed everything. So he's got an incredible story too. And hey, I'm excited to say that I'm going to start posting YouTube videos right away here this week. So get ready for that. I'm not sure exactly what day, but stay tuned. You can follow me on Instagram at Bunny Hugs Podcast, and there will be an announcement there. And I'm going to start off with some older episodes. I have quite a few older ones that were recorded on video. I'm not going to lie, the production's not awesome, but the conversations sure are. So I'm going to be posting those right away. And I'm currently in the works with a new co-host for a second episode a week. So there'll be this kind of traditional one I've been doing, and then a second episode a week with a co-host and the YouTube videos. So some really cool stuff happening here real soon. But I digress and say, without further ado, I give you Jennifer Varga.
So Dayton was 15 years old when he passed. He just turned 15. His birthday was January 9th, and we lost him on January 29th. He was the baby of the family. So he has an older brother who is 23. His name is Zach. And yeah, he was just the baby of the family, the loud, rambunctious little pest that got on your skin and that you knew where it was around. He was my best friend. Like, him and I traveled so much together because, like I said earlier, Dayton was a professional, passionate football player. So he won his first championship when he was, how old would he have been? 14. So he won Pee Wee City Championships in Regina here. He played for RMF. And then, yeah, we traveled throughout Canada and USA with this little guy. We went to Florida for Pro Bowl. He played in a flag tournament up there. He went to Texas every year to play in a tournament in Texas.
Dang.
And yeah.
What position was he?
He was a running back.
Ah, nice. Huh.
Yeah.
So before, like, growing up, did he seem, I don't want to use normal, but did he seem like your average child?
Yes, very normal. He's quite popular, and he didn't let a lot of people in. He was very closed shell, but once he got to know you and trusted you, he opened up like big time. He was a very loving, funny kid, and this is why it was such a shock when we lost him. Like I was going to say, I could see little declines a couple months before he passed, and I kept pressuring him. Like, what's going on, buddy? What's going on? Like, talk to me. And I'd always get the answer, I'm fine, Mom. I'm fine, So it's like he didn't really know what he was dealing with. I know he reached out to his girlfriend 2 days prior to his passing and said, like, I don't feel good lately. Like, my head's just doesn't seem there,
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't really take it seriously because he was still laughing, joking, hanging out with all his friends, just still same Dayton, so she didn't really think it was anything to talk about at that time,
Mm.
which I wish, we would have pressured him more or, talked more about his feelings and like, don't keep him in,
Yeah.
like, yeah,
So he was never diagnosed with anything. He wasn't like seeing a
nothing,
therapist or on meds or anything like that.
nothing at all.
Was there some kind of event that?
Well, the summer of 2019, he went to Kamloops to play in the U16 tournament, and he got hurt before he got to play in the final game.
Mm.
So I think that was kind of a downfall for him. Like I know when he got returned home from Kamloops, he seemed kind of quiet and kind of, like sad, but I thought it was on the down, from hanging out with all the kids for the last 2 weeks, making new friendships, just missing hanging out with his buddies. He was starting high school that August. He started high school and he made the football team as a rookie, and usually grade nines don't play, but Dayton got quite a bit of playing time. But I also think that he thought he could do more. And he kind of was like, I don't know. He came home a few times and said, I'm not sure about the coach. Like, usually Dayton can win coaches over, but there was something about this one coach that he just felt there wasn't a connection. And he come home. He's like, Mom, this coach doesn't like me, you know? And I
Mm.
was just like, well, you know what, Dayton, there's going to be somebody in the world that's like that, throughout your whole life. You know what you got to do is you just got to prove them wrong. Every time you get that ball, you show them what you can do, and he did, but I could
Mm.
just see the little steps of his mental health kind of taking a little div, but he wouldn't talk about it. So I didn't really know what he was going through.
Mm-hmm.
And like him and Zach are so close, so close. And he never brought up anything to Zach or his
Mm.
dad,
Mm-hmm.
So
And
yeah,
how long ago was that when he passed?
he passed in 2020, January of
2020.
2020.
So yeah, I've talked to a couple athletes. I had to think of the word because I'm not one, but I've spoke to a couple athletes about mental health issues and injuries and stuff, and it really does affect. I mean, if that's your passion, that's your goal in life is to do this, and at a younger age, it's kind of ripped away from you because of injury.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge effect. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was had something to do with his decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
tough. And I'm assuming I guess I shouldn't assume anything, but he was pressuring himself more than anyone.
Yes, big time.
Yeah.
Always, like he would even say to his running back coach, like, put me in, coach, like I could do this, and his coach is like, dude, like we're not that good, like just give it time, like you're just still young, and yeah, he just loved being on that field and winning, that was his thing.
Mm-hmm. Have you talked to other parents that have lost kids this way?
Yes, I have actually. So I was part of a suicide survivors group. It's called Healing to the Max. So this lady out in Saskatoon has organized it. She's the founder of it. She lost her 15-year-old son, Max, in, I think, 2019 or somewhere around then. He was 16 at the time. So that's the one group that I've joined and felt a connection with, because loss this way is so different, like so different. Like people don't understand. There's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of stigma, but yeah, it's helped, and then the year we lost Dayton, we also lost two other football players from Regina the same way.
No.
Yeah. So
From
one was in grade 12. So he was a little bit older than Dayton, but he played with Dayton. We knew him. I don't know his parents though, so I didn't really reach out. And then another grade 11, a couple months after Dayton. And yeah, again, they knew Dayton. His girlfriend knew his younger sister. And then
God.
again this year, we lost one of Dayton's buddies. Like he was pretty close with Dayton when they met at the U16s and they just had a connection. And yeah, we just recently lost him in July. Same way.
What is going on?
It's scary. It's scary. It's sad. It just breaks my heart every time I hear it, because it's
Yeah.
not only young kids, it's older people too, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm a suicide attempt survivor. Um, yeah. I mean, when I was in high school, though, I didn't know anyone around my age, and it seems like every school has a kid or two now that
Yeah.
that has been lost. And like, what is going on? I don't understand.
I don't either. I don't know if it's we didn't talk about it earlier or if it's just the pressures of life these days,
Yeah, right. I
you
mean,
know?
we didn't have social media and all types of stuff either. Like, I don't know if that's affecting things. And there was no
Exactly.
COVID and all this stuff. Like, I don't know what's
Absolutely.
happening.
Yeah.
Um, but it seems like it's weird because we didn't talk about it when I was younger,
Mhm.
and yet it didn't happen that much. And it almost seems the reverse. Like it seems like we're talking about it more, but it's happening more.
Yeah.
But it's not happening more because we're talking about it more. We're talking about it more because it's happening more. So
Yeah.
I don't want to give the false,
Yeah.
that
That's
false
true.
perspective. Um, have you talked to anybody in the government or the health region or anything? Like, I'm not sure how actively kind of an advocate you are or anything.
Um, Nothing yet, you know. I do plan on once I have an idea, to advocate for, everybody. Because like I said, with Dayton, it was a total shock, but with
Hmm.
Curtis, I seen it. I seen it coming. His mental health deteriorated so much after we lost Dayton. He put a lot of blame on himself
Hmm.
as a father. He didn't protect him, and he just like everything. He went from a very confident, happy, striving man to a broken soul. He could not go out. He could not have conversations. Like his whole mental health just went down the drain. And like we tried to get help. Like there was like his doctor was really great with us. Like she's been our little savior for Zach and I going forward. But she's been there for Curtis. Um, but with him, there was nothing. Like the antidepressants weren't working. He said, all I feel is numb all the time, Jen. I can't do that. How am I supposed to live with? I just have this numbness in me, you know? So yeah, I wish there was more support, more training for sure, you
Hmm.
know. So that's something that I would like to put focus on too.
We'll just go back a little bit
Sure.
with Dayton. How did you find out? Like, what was that day like? Like how, like you must have been
It was crazy.
like,
I drove him because I drove him every day to school to ensure he'd get there.
right.
So I drove him and he was tired. I could tell he was tired. It was the end of the first semester, grade 9. His grades weren't doing great. We were coming up to his Texas trip. And I said, you know what? We got to have a conversation with dad after work. He's not going to be happy about these grades. You've said they'd come up. We're now at the end of the semester. We got to cross this bridge. And I think he felt the pressure of that and talked to his friends later after it happened. And they said at lunch he was playing basketball with us, like joking and laughing, the normal Dayton. And then after school, he sent me a text, but I was already driving home. And he said, I can't do this anymore. I love you, Mom. That was it. And I came home and I found him.
Oh, you found him. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
Yeah.
Um, do you know what he meant by that text when you sent it, or
I just think he
like at the time? Do you think like did you
was
think?
scared to have that conversation with his dad. I know he was.
Yeah.
I think he thought that Texas was gone, that my grades aren't doing good. They're not going to take me on this trip for a week. And I
Hmm.
just think he just thought it was over.
But when you read the message, I can't do this anymore. I love you, Mom. You didn't think. he had taken his
Nothing.
life, you thought, oh, he's just,
I can't have that conversation with him, right? Like that's what I
yeah,
thought.
you're
When I
right,
got
right.
home, when I got home and got in the house, his shoes were gone. So I just assumed that he took off with his buddies. I'm gone, you know? So I sent him a message and I said, Dayton, running is not the option. Like, come home. I've got you, buddy. You know, we'll talk it out. You know, dad always has a way, an action for you to put in an action plan and work towards that. And it's all good, you know? So yeah.
Hmm. And so, after like speaking with people afterwards, did anybody see this coming? Any of his friends, any of his
Yeah.
teachers? Like, well, he wasn't really seeing a doctor, I guess.
Yeah, no doctor, no, even his girlfriend,
God,
nobody. A complete shock,
I,
you
I
know?
spoke. I spoke to another mother and father who lost a 17-year-old, and they live a block away from me here in Indian Head, Wandering Chris Ball, and they've done quite a bit of advocating and stuff. And even them, like they saw it coming because there was attempts and there was self harm and stuff like that. But it's still just so shocking and tragic, and I don't, man, and to have none of the signs looking back, and just to have that happen, I'm so sorry. That
Yeah,
is,
it was the hardest thing that we've ever had to deal with ever. Yeah,
and for him to feel like he can't tell anyone what he's feeling or how he's thinking or what his mind is thinking of, how to get out of this situation.
it's
It's tragic. Like what kind of emotions are you going through that people don't even think about when
they
man,
see.
sometimes it's hard for me to ask questions because I'm just so like, it's just so mind boggling to me. Like I can't even put myself in your shoes, but like, how is this different than a different type of death, I
A
guess?
normal passing.
Yeah.
Like I said, a lot of blame, shame, and
Yeah.
guilt.
Yeah. Are
Um,
you still working through that?
yes, very much so. And more now losing Curtis as well. I'm super
Yeah.
angry at him at sometimes, but then
Right.
I also get it. I totally get it, you know?
Yeah.
And like I tell everybody, honestly, I don't know where I'd be if Zach wasn't here. I do not know where I'd be. Like
Yeah.
Zach is literally, we've made promises to each other that we will not check out on each other. Like him and I have all we got now, you know?
That sounds so intense that you have to do that you have to make that pact to each other.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so Curtis was your husband, and it
Yep.
was how much how many months after your son passed?
So, okay, we lost Dayton in January 2020, and I lost Curtis July of 2022. So 18 months.
Oh, okay. So that's only been about a year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
Yep.
do you mind talking about like those 2 years between Dayton passing and Curtis passing? Like,
Um, it was very hard. I I don't remember the first 8 months, to be honest. It was all a blur. I know like we couldn't even pay a bill. We couldn't function, like both of us. Like we were just so lost and broken. We tried to be each other's support, but I noticed that Curtis was so far gone. He was not sleeping, he was not eating, he could not leave the house. I could only leave the house at nighttime, like when it was dark. Was not sleeping. Zach was kind of the rock, you know, like he kind of took on that man role, you know, and protector of both of us.
sorry, he was living at home then
Yes,
too?
he still lives at home. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. Uh, how long before Curtis started seeking help from doctors or medication or therapy?
I want to say at least the 8, 9 months. No, well, let me go back. 2 weeks after Dayton passed, we started, well, we were getting panic attacks every day, didn't know what the fuck they were. because we've
Mm.
never dealt with them. So a week after his funeral, his mother, Curtis's mother, said, "You guys need to go see the doctor. Like, you guys, these are panic attacks, and you guys can't get through these without your own, like, let's just go see somebody." So we did a walk-in clinic, and then she said, "No, you guys need to go to your family doctor." So we went to the family doctor, and she got us on a good regimen, counseling. She put Curtis in to see a psychiatrist right away. She said I was okay, I was still functioning, but if I needed that, that would be there for me as well. I did group therapy. I didn't go on any antidepressants because I wanted to figure out how to fucking deal with this on my own and fight through it. So I didn't want to do that. But yeah, just group supports, and then lots of family and friends that were constantly by my side. And without them, I don't know where I'd be. But yeah, it was just a lot of, doctors and help and all that stuff that helped us through the first 9 months at least.
Does mental illness run in Curtis's family?
No, no,
No.
no.
So this is the first.
This is the very first on
Good.
both sides too.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how is Zach doing? Like, how he must be resilient to be able to be, because I mean, he had lost too, and it was tragedy for him, and to be able to kind of be the rock, like you said, during that time.
Yeah. Yeah. He's coping now. I could see his anger at the world though.
Yeah.
He's got that shell,
Yeah.
that shell. So that kind of worries me. But, like, we all deal with it on our own. I just keep telling him, like, don't shut down. You need to talk to me whenever you're feeling like this. And that's our thing is he's good one week, I'm horrible. I'm good, he's bad. So there again, our rock comes in and we lift each other up when we see each other having those bad weeks. But I always say to him, you know what? We're allowed to have these. We just can't stay there. We need to fight to get out of there and figure strategies and copes with how to get out of there, And so that helps.
Is he seeing or has he seen a professional too?
He not a psychiatrist. He's on antidepressants right now. He actually just started them a few months ago. Like, I want to say a couple months before Curtis's 1 year. That's when it started hitting him again, So he's taking time off work right now, and he's just figuring out how to deal with it and where to go from here.
Oh, but no therapy or counseling?
No. Zach's very, very closed,
Mm-hmm. I do.
Mm-hmm.
But the best thing I ever did was talk about the stuff you don't want to talk about, because that's the stuff that's chewing at you.
Exactly. And that's how you heal, is getting that out and,
Well,
living those uncomfortable moments and figuring out how to deal with them. And,
well, I hope he talks to somebody at some point.
yeah, me too. I'll keep working on him,
Yeah. So do you think he was able to grieve because he was so worried about you two? He felt like he had to be the rock for you guys. Was he able to grieve properly? I know this is like, you're speaking for him. I know, like, yeah. You don't think so?
I know him pretty well, and he's kind of like his mama, and I believe he wasn't, because I want to say when we lost Dayton, I didn't grieve properly either, because I was so focused on them too. Like, I was so worried that I was going to lose both of them the same way. And, I just tried to be that rock and tried to be the strong and after I lost Curtis, I was completely messed up. I didn't know where to focus my attention, my grieving, anything on, So yeah, I just, I hope he figures out his path and what works for him. And
yeah, I can. Yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes a few decades.
Oh, for sure.
How was that day when Curtis passed? How did you find out?
Again, I'm the one that found him.
Oh my God.
So yeah, Thank goodness Zach was at work this time, though. Zach wasn't home. But yeah, had to go through that trauma again. Was hard. Was hard.
God, I can only imagine. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
Thanks.
Um, I don't know why this keeps happening. Like, I understand it happens. I mean, it just happens, but I don't understand why it's happening so much lately.
Yeah, me neither.
And it seems and it's very, I can't remember the stats. I wish I remembered them. My stupid brain won't let me remember numbers, but it is youth, and seems like both your son and your husband were like in exactly the age groups that it seems to be affecting males the most.
Yeah, that's true.
Man, yeah, I'm trying to put my mind into the mind of a youth these days,
Exactly. Yeah.
and now there's all this gender talk and stuff, and now the government's saying you're not allowed to change genders without your parents' permission at school. So like teachers can't call you whatever gender you want unless you have permission, and like it just seems like just another thing that can affect kids.
One thing that I do wish is they'd have more mental health training at that grade 8, 9 level, you know? Like I said, their hormones are changing and everything. I don't really think that he was equipped to deal with what was going on in his head, like,
Mm-hmm.
and if they're told, like, yes, this is normal. This is what that you could be thinking, and I have no idea, Todd, like, honestly. And then a lot of people are like, do you think football had to do with it? You know? And I
Right,
was
right. Like
like, no,
concussions and all this stuff too. And
exactly, because Dayton's been playing since he was 8 years old, tackle football. He's told us he's had like off feelings, like shaken brain after a couple games, woozy.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then he did have, I don't know if you've heard of the Q collar. So it's a kind of device that they wear on their neck, and it's supposed to help with the concussions. And so we bought one when it first came out in 2019. And when he wore it, he's like, Mom, I feel nothing. Like when I get hit from behind, usually I'll feel a little woozy or something. He's like, with this Q collar, it's amazing. Like I feel so protected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I had a friend that used to be a social worker in schools, and her position kept getting cut back and cut back to the point that she would have to travel to other schools because they were cutting back so many social workers in schools that she had to, instead of one school, she had like 3 or 4 schools, and then half her time was actually driving to these schools. Do you think we're actually going backwards in this province a bit? Like,
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure we are.
I don't understand what, like, and we have, so years ago, I started a petition to create a minister of mental health and addictions, and now we have one. And I thought, oh, great, this is going to be great, but it doesn't seem to matter at all.
Yeah.
Like, things are still getting worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
I think it's got to be the right people in those positions fighting for the certain issues that are arising in the world.
Yeah. Like, I know they have bosses too, but what, man, I'm sorry. I'm just it's not very often I get this kind of fucked up from a conversation, but I'm just so rattled right now. It just drives me crazy because it's so simple. You have consultants, they tell you what is needed. You have people on the ground, they tell the consultants what they need. So then the people in charge hear what needs to be done, and then they don't do it, or they
go in a total different direction.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
And they keep saying, oh, we're putting this much more money into it. It's like, yeah, but you're putting it in the wrong spot. Like, how many times have we told you what would be helpful, and yet you put it somewhere else?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the struggle, is figuring out the gaps, and those higher ups listening to where they need to be filled.
Like, is it ideology? Political ideology? Like, what?
Possibly.
I hate getting political.
Trust me.
I mean, politicians politicize mental health and addiction, so I guess why can't I? Because I mean, like, this is a humanitarian issue, not a political issue? Why are we politicizing? Why are you making this a political issue? It
Yeah,
fucking drives me nuts. Oh,
I totally agree. I
I'm,
agree with you 100%.
go out there and
And
vote, everyone.
yeah. And then with mental health, it's such a like wide spectrum of where everybody falls. So it's not just this one certain lane, you know? It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
so crazy, so crazy. And COVID did not help, you know?
God, no. No, I know
Like
that for
at
sure.
all, you
I've got a
know?
18-year-old and a 16-year-old, and I know that for sure, for especially young people. I mean, my son's whole high school career was during COVID. Like, it's
Yeah,
supposed to be your most social and your most, figure
exactly.
yourself out and stuff. And yeah, it's been hard. Yeah. Did you and Curtis talk much about mental health to Dayton when he was younger, or
No, no.
there's
We talked about like our feelings and stuff, what bothered us and stuff, but not mental health specifically, you know, at all, you know, and that's something that I do regret, you know. And like you said, we didn't have many losses before Dayton, so he never seen that, you know, the grieving side of when you lose somebody. And not only when you do this, it's forever. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I don't think that they think of that as well. Like,
that's right. Yeah.
you
Well, I
know,
know from experience, when you're in that mindset, it just feels like this is it forever. I'm never going to feel any different. And
yeah,
sometimes it's literally 2 minutes later and you're like feeling a little more grounded. So
no,
you are impulsive. You are like,
yes.
I need to stop feeling like this and I have no way out of here. And it's
Or I just want,
literally just a temporary feeling.
yeah, or I just want the pain to end, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, it just breaks my heart that this is happening everywhere.
You know what I want to say is Curtis did reach out to his mom and his sister before he did it and told them,
That he was going to do it, or that he was thinking
yeah,
about it.
that he was going to do it. And they live 2 hours away from us.
Oh, fuck.
And I wish they would have just called me and said, hey, you know, but they thought that they talked him out of it, you know? So there's a little bit of guilt there. And, you know,
Today's episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health is brought to you by Co-op. I've been a member of my local co-op, Sherwood Co-op, for, about 25 years, I think. My co-op is one of more than 150 local independent cooperative associations in more than 600 communities across Western Canada. Co-op is a different kind of business. It's not just a gas bar or a grocery store, although co-op is those things too. At its core, co-op is a group of people working together to help their neighbors and build their community. Co-op members are owners, and success is shared with everyone. Your co-op doesn't benefit one person or one corporation. Your co-op was built for everyone. Your co-op was built for your community. Learn more about co-op and find a location near you at coop.crs. One thing I've learned through my experience with mental health and addictions is you never know what you need to hear until you hear it. Make sure to rate and review on Apple and to tell as many people as you can about the podcast so others can hear something they need to hear from one of my guests. After all, this is a free mental health service, which is a rare thing, so why not share with as many people as you can? Did his workplace have any kind of
oh gosh.
benefits or mental health benefits?
Do you want to go there? Okay.
Ooh, this sounds good.
After we lost Dayton, Curtis, of course, needed to take time off work. So he went on, I think it was short-term disability. So he was off for a good year and finally kind of figuring his stuff out. He's like, hey, I think I'm able to try get into a routine again. Okay, well, let's try that. So his doctor is just like, yeah, let's make a plan. Let's try get you 3 hours a day for 3 days to go back to work. So he met with his manager, called his manager, and told him his plan. That was a Monday. And so he took it back to head office and had the little meeting. They called him on a Thursday, said, we need to meet on a Friday. We're going to have a Teams meeting on a Friday. And, we'll discuss further. And so I was just like, okay, and he even told me, he's like, they're gonna let me go, Jen. And I'm like, no, they would not do that, Curtis. He's just like, I have this feeling. And sure enough, that Friday, they called and said, we can't work with your plan. It's not workable, so we're going to let you go. We'll give you a severance package. So they didn't even try get him in the door to figure out if it would work with him. They just threw their arms up in the air and said, and that's where he was just.
That sounds illegal.
I know.
Do you mind, you don't have to name the place, but was this private? Was it a corporation? Was it a small business?
Corporation. It's a corporation.
Government or private?
Private.
And yet all these companies right now are, patting themselves on the back because.
Absolutely.
Because mental health, we care about our employees' mental health.
And even their motto was family first,
The place he worked at was family first?
Yeah.
So they wouldn't
accommodate his return to work.
Accommodate, thank you.
Yep.
That sounds.
It was horrible.
Did you guys look into it to see if it was like?
No, we didn't. Like I said, we were still grieving, and you know what I mean? Didn't know who to turn to, who to ask the right questions. And even our doctor said, you know what, you need to look into this. She's like, because I didn't sign off anything for him to go back permanently. So she's like, I don't know how they made their decision without a doctor saying that he was able to go back yet.
Right. And that was disability.
Yeah.
And how was your work? How's it been?
Well, my work has been phenomenal. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
I only had a few, 5 weeks left in time to take off when I lost Curtis, though. So that was a little hard. But they've been so, my manager and my supervisor have been so great. If you need to work from home, you're having days, you do that. You take care of you first. So.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
And you work private or corporate, government?
Government.
So the government is doing something right, or at least the managers.
Yes. In certain areas.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. They kind of know the law then.
Yeah.
Man. And how was, well, you mentioned that there was a few football players and a few young people that in the city that have gone. Was Dayton one of the first ones?
Yes. From what I started hearing, so once you are put in this group, a lot of people come to you and say, hey, I just lost this way. We've lived in our house for 15 years now, known our neighbors, and she didn't tell me until we lost Dayton how she lost her dad in 89 the same way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With Dayton's buddy that we just lost a couple months ago, I reached out to his mom because I didn't know her, but we had that connection, and she reached out to me and said, he was her only child, so she's struggling greatly. She doesn't know where to go from here. She doesn't know her purpose, and so I just reiterated, just I'm here if you need to talk, but her case was. Odin was dealing with it for many years, and she tried to get the help for him.
Oh, I see.
He saw doctors, he saw a psychiatrist. 2 weeks before he took his life, she took him to the doctor and said he needs help again. These medicines aren't working. So they upped his medication and said they'd follow up within a week. They didn't. A week later, he was gone.
Fuck. It's so tragic. I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing wrong?
That's just it. You have these people that are asking and begging for the help, and it falls upon deaf ears.
Because it's other cities and other provinces and other countries are going through it too. And of course I say that, and I have yet to interview anyone from another country, another state, another province that says our mental health system is perfect, and like everybody's complaining about mental health systems in the entire world.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
God, so no one's getting it right.
Yeah.
Man, I need a new topic. I gotta change my podcast. It's like it's too frustrating.
Yeah.
I know when I first started advocating, it was like, rallies and signs and yelling at the government and stuff, and it felt good to get mad and to let my frustration out that way. But also, it's just like it felt impossible to see or do any change. What fulfilled me was actually being boots on the ground. I started working at a treatment center where I went through treatment, and it was like that one-on-one connection is really where you see the change. And so that actually feels better, because it's like you're trying to change the machine when you're just a molecule. It's discouraging.
So
It's so discouraging. I mean, I still get discouraged sometimes, but conversations even like this, it's just, I feel like I'm getting more done than organizing a rally. But so if you ever want to feel any satisfaction, just keep talking to the folks, keep talking to I don't know, students and parents like yourself. And
exactly, keep telling their story, and keeping the word. Like, I had this one mom, or auntie, actually, she was an auntie. She reached out to me after Dean's funeral, and she was just shocked of how open I was of how we lost him, and was happy that I didn't hide it. And I said to her, I was like, Dayton was the happiest child, he was so loved and so had such a bright future. If this can happen to him, it can happen to anybody, so I had to get his story out and not be ashamed of it, because I wasn't.
Mm-hmm. And that's something I've mentioned to other parents I've talked to, is that even 5 years ago, especially 10 years ago, in obituaries, you wouldn't see, died of a drug overdose or died of suicide or lost their battle with depression. It was just, we lost so-and-so suddenly, and that would be it, right? So there was always this question mark in the obituary. People's views are changing. The stigma is changing slowly, and it is because people that are going through it are talking. The parents that are dealing with the loss are being open about it. It is brave, because there's still people not doing that. You still see obituaries that say lost so-and-so suddenly, and it makes you wonder, like, okay, why won't you say what happened? Like, why? Like, and that's how the stigma perpetuates and becomes habitual, is because the people that are dealing with it aren't talking, not the people that don't understand. I mean, if you're ignorant to what it's like, then of course the stigma is going to continue for you. So yeah, good on you, and thank you for speaking out and being so open.
Yeah, for sure.
You even talked about my own story and being open. It can be hard when people approach you and say, oh, thank you for talking about it, because sometimes you don't feel like being approached and talking about it. So you do kind of set yourself up for that. But
that's true. That's so true. Yeah.
But again, that's how you change things, is allowing yourself to be open and vulnerable, so that people can approach you and talk and tell their story. So yeah.
And that's how you heal as well, is going into those fearful moments, or everything. Yeah.
I don't want this to be a reason for people not to take their own life, because they, you already have enough pressure on yourself and you're going through enough. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is just as much trauma as they're going through, just how much trauma they create when they take their own life.
Absolutely.
And again, it's not like I don't want to guilt people to stay alive, but every parent you've mentioned and talked to that has lost someone, I don't know anyone that's completely healed, or it hasn't affected them.
Or even the same person, because we have changed so much, like Zach and I, Yeah, it's definitely one thing that I do always stress is, you may be taking your pain away at that moment, but you're also spreading it. Once you're gone, you spread it. We carry those with us now. you
Yeah.
know. My heart just breaks for Zach, like he lost his dad and his little brother, like it's
Hmm.
it just sucks.
Is that part of your anger with Curtis? Is because he knows just how much it hurt losing a child, and then he goes and does it again.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. Um, because he knew we were hurting too, like, and the day that we lost Dayton, he came to me and he's like, I need to go, I need to leave, I need to go take care of him. He's alone. He's like, you go, you take care of Zach down here. I'll go take care. And he used to say that to me every month, and I'd be like, Curtis, no, like Zach fucking needs you. Like you are his dad. You are, like, no, we both need you. And I just feel that he checked out, and then put all of those emotions on us again.
Yeah.
But then I also, it's a catch-22. I see how much he suffered. I see like his
Hmm.
decline in health, and that's what a lot of the family members say, like he did try to stay. He tried, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I don't want to make excuses for your husband, but being someone that's been suicidal, someone that's been through addiction, I mean, you're not thinking straight. I mean, you're sick yourself, and you actually think you're doing people a favor.
That's exactly what I guarantee he was thinking. He's I'm better. They're better off without me, you
Yeah.
know? I'm just bringing them down.
Yeah. Our brains are
Oh, they're messed,
they're
They tell you
stupid
some
brains.
stupid shit. Because I get those messages too, you
Hmm.
know?
Just yeah, some people are more susceptible to
Listen to them and,
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. Does Zach have some resentment towards Curtis?
At the beginning, I think he did, like, how could you do this to us,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, but I think now he's more or less coming around and realizing that how much of a struggle mentally dad had to go through, you know? After we lost, no, I guess I want to say before we lost Aiden, Curtis and Zach were kind of like pulling apart, the teenager and, young adult, dad trying to tell you how to live your life or what direction to go in. I think they kind of pulled apart. But then after we lost Dayton, their relationship was different and they were coming together in a different way.
Hmm. If you could change mental health in Saskatchewan or wherever in the world, what do you think is maybe one of the most important things? I'm glad
Huh.
I'm asking it, not answering it.
Like I say, just keep talking about it. More training for one. Um, and then for people that are suffering to talk as well, because we don't know what's going on in that brain of yours. You need to be more vocal. And that's another thing I wish Curtis would have done is talk to us more, you know,
More
like he
safe
could,
spaces, maybe,
exactly. That's a good one.
so that you can feel safe to open up.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And even with Dayton, I think that was a struggle of his. He didn't know how to open up and how to have those conversations or even where to start.
Hmm.
Like I'm I've come from a loving family. I've got lots of friends, like he had scouts that were already scouting him at 15. A week after he passed, Queen's University reached out to us and asked to fill out the recruitment forms, and it's just like, yeah, that was hard. That was hard on Curtis,
Oh yeah.
having to tell them that he passed. Dayton played Sask Selects, so it's a football organization in Moose Jaw, and they even keep talking to their young players about Dayton and his
Mm.
story and telling it and telling the kids, you're feeling this, reach out.
I have a segment here. The segment's called "That Some Bunny Special," and that's a segment where we talk about who cooperated in your mental health journey and helped fill your emotional tank. Brought to you by Co-op. Who has been there through your darkest times? I think I know. I think you've mentioned a name.
Yeah. So Zach has been my number one.
Hmm.
Curtis's mom. has been my definite rock.
Mm,
We've kind of bound together, because we both know what we're going through, both
yeah.
losing a child. My auntie has been also very supportive whenever I need help. She's down here. Like I said, with Dayton, I think my auntie was here and Curtis's mom for a good month after he passed, just taking care of us because we couldn't function. Like we weren't even able to feed Zach or, like I said, pay a bill, you
Hmm.
know? So yeah, my auntie, Curtis's mom, and then my cousin Lindsay have been my top three supports for sure. And then Zach. And then also after Dayton passed, we purchased a bulldog and we named him Davy, which is Dayton Varga's initials. So he has been our little angel, getting us through some rough times and some
Awesome.
dark days. Yeah.
I've been doing the segment for a little while now, and I've been waiting for someone to mention their dog.
Yeah. Yeah. He's been just a character. And he's got so many traits of Dayton. It's unreal. It's unreal.
Well, Bulldog would make a good running back.
And he's built like one.
I mean, maybe not a 100-yard dash, but 20-yard
Yeah,
dash.
those 20, yeah.
Is there anything you want people to know before I let you go?
Don't give up. Those moments will pass. Seek out help that works for you and just build from there. That's one thing is those moments will pass. Just figure out how to get through them.
If you can't find a safe space, keep looking.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a good one too.
Because, I mean, I don't know. There's so much I want to say that I don't know if I'm scared of getting emotional. The thing is, there's more safe spaces than you even realize is the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's safe places where you don't even realize there's a safe space. All you have to do is be open. You just have to open up.
Yeah.
And quite often, you are the one creating the safe space.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
This has been an interesting episode. I've talked to a few people that have, lost family members and loved ones, and I don't know why this one, it was a loss for words for a lot of it. So I apologize.
It's a lot. Like everybody comes up to me and is like, I don't know how you do it, and I'm like, I don't know how I do it either. But
Yeah.
I do because I have one more to take care of and one more to,
Mm-hmm. You don't have a choice.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. That's extremely kind of you and wonderful of you to share your story with us. I think I can speak for everybody and say that we very much appreciate your time and your efforts and for sharing this heartbreaking story. Before I go, I just want to say that my good friend Daniel Norwood, he was on episode 98, and he is the one that, if you haven't listened to the episode, there's a spoiler alert here. He accidentally shot and killed his girlfriend. He was recently interviewed on the Massive podcast. This is actually happening with Whit Missildine. Thank you, Whit, for the shout out. And thank you, Daniel, just for being you. There is a GoFundMe started for Daniel, but more accurately, it's a fundraiser for Jessica's son. And you can go on my Instagram, Bunny Hugs Podcast, and I posted on there about it, and there's a link there. It was posted a little while ago, so you kind of have to go through some of the posts to find the post and the link in the comments there. And it would be wonderful if anyone listening that can afford to give anything would go on there and do that for Jessica's son. If you were able to do that, I would be so extremely grateful. And please rate and review on Apple Podcast. Please tell people about the podcast. You never know who's going to hear something that they didn't know they needed to hear. And also, please remember to make your beds and take your meds. Bye.